Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Wade T. Lightheart with Bioptimizers with another edition of the Awesome Health Show. And today we have none other than Cary Jack, living the happy hustle and a life full of blissful balance. He's a lifestyle entrepreneur, author, podcast host, professional actor, model, biohacker, eco warrior, martial artist, and humanitarian, striving to make a positive impact on this planet. As the founder of The Happy Hustle, his mission is to educate, inspire, and entertain, while reminding you to enjoy the journey, not just the destination, as you happy hustle for a life of passion and purchase. Cary,
Purpose.
welcome to the show. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, I was on your show a few weeks back. It was a lot of fun. And I guess a lot of people, maybe you can give us, like, you're out in the middle of nowhere in Montana. You're there for a reason. You've been into biohacking, the whole health thing. You're a business and entrepreneur, as you say, martial art, all these different things. So that's an interesting combination in the world. And I think right now, there's a lot of people who have found themselves into cities. They're recognizing, in this COVID era, that the cities aren't supporting them. They're caught in the machine of the world. They're in the commute. They're in the grind. Now they're working from home, and they're like, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to live in a city. Maybe I can kind of leverage technology and go back to this kind of health world. But you're you kind of figured that all out early. Can you give us a little background on yourself and then how you got to the happy hustle and what you're doing these days?
It kind of started first as me just hustling, up to no good, doing things for the wrong reasons, focus more on success and profits. And I found myself in the abbreviated version, hustling, but not happy, 100 plus hour weeks. I've always been an entrepreneur, but I was working my tail off in New York City for my tech startup with my brother, business partner, and best friend. And we were soliciting this, 7-figure VC funding deal. And we were meeting with IBM and Microsoft and all the big players. And, we ended up getting the 7-figure VC funding deal, but we burn out. We really burn ourselves out. And we couldn't sign the contract. We couldn't take the money. It was a real come to Jesus moment, and so from that point on, I moved to Bangkok, Thailand. My brother went back and got his master's, and over in Thailand, I lived there for about 10 months. I figured out a better way to work and live. And I just
want to interject on that for a second, because this is a common element that I think digital entrepreneurs go through and stuff. Is like, you kind of go through the mill, you burn out, and you go to Southeast Asia, and then you kind of come back with a new plan, because you're forced into this kind of like a different life. But there's really interesting lifestyle in Southeast Asia. I did the same thing. And I love Southeast Asia. I think it's awesome. Beautiful cultures, a very different way, tropical climates, and just a different approach to life. Because if you're caught in the cities there, it's super intense. If we think it's intense here, there's just another level of people and intensity and pollution and all this. But then you got these local communities and co-op workplaces and things like that, where everybody's just kind of got out of the machine and they're rediscovering the joy in life.
Yeah, right? So true.
But there's a point community. That you've got to figure out, okay, well, the joy of life is good, but I still got to make a living. So continue on when you did the 10-month recovery, because that whole digital world is kind of like, I was just talking about this with my business partner, Matt, yesterday. It's like, the whole, for example, the San Francisco tech scene is like, you're kind of in this crazy 15 to 20 hour a day race against time, and you burn yourself to a crisp, and hopefully you get the big payoff in that thing. But for most people, they don't. 99.9% of the people don't make it. There's those 0.1s. Or they get vetted by the VCs, and you do all the work and they make all the money. But I want to make that decision point. I want to go to the decision point before you went to Thailand. Like, in that come to Jesus moment, what was that like? Like, what come up? Here comes the cash. Here comes the dream.
Yeah.
What was, how did you say, I can't do this?
Yeah, it's a good question, because honestly, that was everything we worked for. That was everything we wanted. We wanted to be the tech startup founders. We were wearing the fancy suits that we got because I've been in the entertainment world as well for years. And, we got these fancy suits doing a modeling gig. So we recycled those every day, wearing the same suits, same fancy clothes to the same meetings. Like we were just going to networking, meetups and crashing WeWork gatherings and all the things to get to where we wanted. Like we busted our ass for a year and a half to get this deal. And then we realized, holy crap, we can't take this money. This money comes with a 5-year clause. Rightfully so. If they're going to give you that much money, they want to make sure you're invested and committed. And we were like, this is the next 5 years of our life. And what we were doing still has merit today. I mean, it's a big data play essentially, but we were quantifying feedback, and we put an algorithm behind feedback. And we started in the entertainment world, but then it quickly, saw validity in the job market, in the dating world, in the, also different types of industries. And so that's where big players like IBM and Microsoft got attraction. But at the end of the day, we lost like our real purpose behind it. It was more for a paycheck. And I think a lot of people out there listening can probably resonate, where you just get caught up in the grind. You're caught up in, the day-to-day routine. And then there's something called a sunk cost fallacy, where I've already invested this much time. I have to keep going. I have to see it through.
Right.
And a lot of people get stuck in that phase. And we were stuck. And that came to that catalyst, that moment of, all right, we got to decide, are we signing this paperwork or not? Are we taking this money or not? And we had a little, shitbox apartment in Queens, New York. We were sharing a king size bed, my brother and I. And we had it was a rough life. I'm a nature guy. I grew up half in Montana, half in Florida. I grew up half on the beach, surfing, skating, and then half in the mountains playing cowboy, camping, fishing, hunting, hiking. And there's a lot of, there's none of that in New York, neither side. And so we weren't happy in our environment. I think it's a good distinction for everyone to just take stock in their environment. You alluded to it early in the interview, but it's important to really, think, is your environment bringing you happiness? So New York wasn't, so that was a huge factor. The 5-year commitment to something that we weren't passionate about. Obviously, that's a huge factor, signing 5 years of your life away. The other component was who we were getting the funding from didn't feel right, and you have to trust your intuition, and you have, to really think about what is your soul, crying for, what is it really telling you? Right. And so those factors really played into our decision, and we ultimately pivoted and folded the tech startup, but that's kind of how it came to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so you made that decision, and that you obviously closed down the company or whatever, and then took off to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
because you need to kind of defrag from that whole thing. I remember when I went through my burnout, I remember my start was in Panama at the time. And I remember saying, the NFL football playoffs had started, and I like football, but I hadn't watched any of that. And I remember saying, okay, can I sit down and watch one game, which was 3 hours? And I remember I was in the boat 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the game, and I'm having this sense of guilt that I'm not working. And I'm going, is this really healthy?
Yeah.
I'm a health advocate here. What the heck's going on? Right.
So true, man.
Right. And that was a business not related to Bioptimizers. I was running 3 companies at the time. And one of them was the startup that was in another area that grinded me. So let's talk about that move. What did you do in those 10 months?
I mean, I basically, just lived this carefree lifestyle. I
Drove
was,
around a scooter.
well, I drove, and so funny story. The one thing that all the tour books agree on in Southeast Asia is just whatever you do, don't drive. Well, my first week there, I'm like, let's rent an RV.
Oh,
so,
no.
So I rented an RV. Basically, it was like a 15-foot RV, like truck style,
Yep.
with about 6 people that I randomly met at a hostel. And we went cruising all over Thailand and hit all the national parks from coast to coast. So that was interesting. Found myself at the full moon party, scuba diving, doing all the things. After that, I got a
Koh Phangan or whatever.
Yeah. Got a contract with a pretty big talent company over there. Just because I've been acting, modeling in the States. I had a book that, aka portfolio, that could get me work over there. So and there's not that many token white guys over in Southeast Asia. They're here in the States. I'm a commodity, but over there I'm a unique,
right?
Especially with my mustache and sideburns,
Right on.
So there, so I was working, doing the acting modeling thing, and then having a lot of fun. Looking back, that was a really pivotal time in my life because I was just giving away my chi. Growing up doing martial arts, we cultivate chi energy. And I was giving it away freely to everyone and anything, it was a savage day for Cary. And I honestly, found myself a little bit depressed and like unhappy with who I was. So I started to then build myself up more so, and I've always been into personal development and self-improvement, but then I started to actually share what I was doing with others. And then I, created more so like CaryJack.com, and the Happy Hustle was born. And that's kind of where the birth came from, was just like, all right, I'm going to work online because I want to be location independent. Yep. I want to create my own schedule. These were some of the components to my decision. And I want to be, making like my own decisions for my own future. And so I, being in the entertainment world, and I've never really had a real job per se, but I knew that, I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. And so those were the components that kind of led to this whole, this now journey I'm on, which is happy hustling, and for me, it's all about living that blissful balance in both professionally and personally. And I think a lot of people out there, listening can probably relate to being out of balance in one capacity or another. And that's really what I was struggling with. I was out of balance in New York, right? I was focused all on work, like you were too. You burn out because you were focused all on work. You couldn't even watch a football game, and so I think that now is my true calling. What I'm so passionate about solving is that problem of imbalance, specifically for purpose-driven online entrepreneurs.
I think you bring up a point, and I think everybody that goes through the burnout situation or the disillusionment, sometimes when you're chasing kind of the that crescendo of business or economics or status within a field or whatever, and then you get to the point where you realize that this is not a game, that winning is not really winning. Winning is a form of shackling, right?
Yeah.
I call it the golden handcuffs.
Yep.
And I remember when I was a personal trainer, I coached people that were in those situations. They had everything that you would want in life. They had the titles, the corporations, the family, the crids, like all the cottage up in the north and all that sort of stuff. And, I would coach these people who were hiring me to get fit. And I said, well, getting fit's not the issue. It's like, we need to discover, what do you think you're going to get from being fit? What's the payoff for you internally? And in the end, most of them just wanted maybe to go build a boat in Southeast Asia. They wanted to maybe work in their carpentry. They wanted to enjoy their life, but they were so locked in this system they can't. And when a lot of them some of them broke out of those patterns. There is a period of 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years, where they do, you feel this kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a loss. It's like you've let go of the dream.
Yeah.
You've let go of what was driving you for so long, and you kind of go into the valley of despair, almost like, well, now what? What am I going to do now? I'm not defined. My identity is not defined by this future goal that's now not going to transpire. And I don't know what the new future goal is now. So then who am I? What am I doing?
Yep.
Oftentimes people, start partying or do drugs or go on a sex rampage or all of the above.
Yeah.
And
right.
then which kind of takes you deeper into the valley. And then you're like, okay, well, those things, I can't mitigate stimulation. And then you come out of that. So, but then they come birth the new idea, this what I call this balanced living idea, which it seems you find. So you're coming out of that kind of valley of darkness, if you will.
Yeah.
And so what came in at that point? What was the next step?
Well, the next step, I mean, was really just clarifying my message and my mission, and I've always been big into health and performance, and I've always been an athlete, and that kind of led me down the biohacking rabbit hole. Truthfully, like I was happy hustling, but it was still a side gig for me. Like I actually partnered up with a mutual buddy of ours, Anthony, and Biohacking Secrets, and we created this pretty legit biohacking company and a coaching program, and we went deep down the rabbit hole of health and performance and working with Fortune 500 CEOs to Olympic gold medalists and pro athletes and everyone in between. And that was a nice time in my life to really allow me to build the Happy Hustle organically on the side without pressure to monetize. So I was creating content, my framework, my system. In addition, I was learning health, performance, biohacking, mindfulness, all these, high-end tactics. So that was about a 3-year interlude, of working, biohacking, happy hustle, modeling / acting, still, living this dynamic lifestyle. In addition, I met my now fiance, after a time of abstinence. I came back from the, Southeast Asia, and I had to cultivate that inner chi. And so I went cold turkey, no party, no drug, no sex, no nothing. And I really fell back in love with myself, and I think that's an important component. Like a lot of people, they're searching for love. They're looking for this perfect partner, but they're not the 10 that they seek. Right.
Yes.
And if you want a 10, you got to be a 10.
Right.
So I wasn't finding my perfect partner, and I then fell back in love with myself. I worked on filling my cup so then I could give from my overflow to my inner circle and others. And that's kind of was interesting enough. My fiance found herself in that time period as well, practicing self-love. And we weren't looking for each other, but we ended up finding one another because we were both in that state.
Same wavelength. You're on the same wavelength, as they say,
Yep, exactly. So that was a cool time. I came back, working in the health and performance field, acting, modeling. I've always been, that's always been a part of my life. I did Second City Improv for about 3.5 years in Chicago. And I find myself doing a lot of commercials. I've done Jeep and Corona and Michelob Ultra and Home Depot, and just a bunch of fun roles that I get to be a character on. And then I've done some fun films with people like The Rock and Michael Bay, and just little parts, little stuff here and there. So that was a good part. I always, fun fact, Wade, my this could be bad advice too. Now looking back, it probably it's questionable advice. I don't know if I would follow it again, but my Kung Fu master, and he's a Taoist priest, Master Chen, I remember when I was a little boy, he told me, Gary, always have 7 plates spinning on 7 sticks. Therefore, if one drop, you have 6 left. So I was like,
yeah, right. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
totally
I'll do 7 things. I'll always do 7 things, you know? So I was like doing acting, modeling, you know, entrepreneurship, happy hustle, this, that, coaching. In addition, I have a whole eco business with my brother, business partner, and best friend. We started a new company. Still to date, it's called Sustainable Breakthroughs, and then we have the Ecopreneur Evolution, but it's fighting plastic pollution and climate change. And I'm very passionate eco warrior growing up in the mountains and on the beach. So moral of the story, I was up to all these different things in that interlude, you know, and growing and building and spinning 7 plates. So that's kind of, you know, where we were at. And then it wasn't until probably, you know, late 2019 is when I really focused. Okay, now let's go in on Happy Hustle, because I see this is really my calling. I feel it, you know, it's starting to get momentum. I still have my eco business with my brother that he runs point on. And I still, from time to time, I just got an audition, you know, for a pretty cool gig here in Montana, you know, through my agent. So stuff comes up, but this is my focus. This is my priority, the Happy Hustle. So.
Beautifully said. Now, I know that you've gone from the 7 plates to the 10 alignments.
Yeah.
That allows you to be still hustling, but maintaining, you know, your passion and your purpose and maintaining your happiness and that sort of thing. I think that's kind of the ultimate goal that we're seeing emerging in I would say it's one of the positive aspects of the current world situation is people's like, wait a minute. You know, everybody's been forced to put a pause on things. And in that pause, there's a moment of reflection. And then there's like, I need to manage this insane technological wheel that seems to can spin us little biological bodies out of control.
So true.
And you've come up with the 10 alignments that allows you to kind of, you know, bring forth the happy hustle. And it's obvious. I mean, you just radiate happiness. And I think that's you know, the first time we talked, it oozes out of every pore of your body. And I think I think of all things, that's maybe the greatest goal that someone can emerge to, or take on as a human. What are the 10 alignments? Can you talk about that?
The Bioptimizer mission is to help more of the world fix their digestion at a core level. The truth is, your digestion is only as good as your enzyme levels. Imagine trying to build a house with a tree. It's impossible. You need to chop the tree down into small pieces. Similarly, in order for your food to be used by your body, it must be broken down into a bioavailable form. And that's what enzymes do, converting protein into amino acids, fats into specific fatty acids, and carbohydrates into usable energy units. We start out with an abundance of enzymes, and that's why kids can digest just about anything really quickly. The thing is cooking food kills enzymes as they cannot survive at temperatures above 118 degrees. So years of this ends up depleting our bodies and leads to weak digestion. Taking digestive enzymes like masszymes, which has an incredibly high level of protease for digesting protein, as well as other critical enzymes like lipase, amylase, and others is a total game changer. Suddenly you strengthen your digestion, eliminate gas and bloating, boost metabolism, and multiply your energy. Most importantly, you fix your digestion at a core level. To get started with Masszymes and to save 10% on your first order, go to masszymes.com. That's MASSZYMES.com and use the code MASS10, MASS10.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I basically broke my life down into these 10 areas, these 10 alignments, I call them. The first one is persistent personal development, right? I believe you have to be growing each and every day in some way. So for me, I have a happy hustle hack attached to each of the 10 alignments. And I'm happy to run through those with you and your audience so that they can actually like, not just listen to this, but then actually implement it, right? Like it's great podcasts, you know, the knowledge out there that you can acquire from them, but then take it a step further and implement them. So I want to,
that's one of my things I've been noticing, that society has seemed to, with this whole digital tech, has become voyeurs to life. In other words, they don't actually, they just consume this video footage or this whatever audio and they get the drug hit of the, oh, I learned this, or I got this new trick, but they keep running the addictions, kind of like fast food for life.
Mm-hmm.
You get junk food for life. It's good, but it's awesome. It tastes good, but there's no application to it. So the application is the key. So let's go into this, these 10 things.
Yeah, for sure. So the first one, as I mentioned, is persistent personal development. And for me, I have a 90-minute personal development system. It's a rule for me every day. I focus 30 minutes of my morning on reading something educational and inspirational, 30 minutes in my afternoon listening to something inspirational and educational, and then 30 minutes in my evening watching something inspirational and educational. Now, if that seems like a lot, build your way up to it. Start with 15, 15, 15, right? And get yourself going in that momentum where you are the sum of your 5 closest relationships, they say, right? That's a cliche saying, but it is true. But totally now true. You're almost more a product of what you consume.
Yes.
Not who you surround yourself with, because now we're all in the pandemic in this digital age. So it's more important than ever to focus on what you're consuming, what you put in your brain, right? So that's my, happy hustle hack for persistent personal development.
Love it.
The next one is called optimized health. Obviously, health equals wealth. This is right up your alley. And you know more about health than just about anyone I know, Wade. So I'm not gonna, go too deep into this one because I know your audience is super educated. But for me, one happy hustle hack that I have, besides just obviously exercising the body, every single day in some way and eating healthy organic foods, I have triggers set up in my life. So for instance, one happy hustle hack for my health is a trigger to do my naked push-ups. I call them #naked push-ups. If you do them, give your boy a shout out. Every shower or bath, I've been doing this since I can even remember, but before I shower or do any bath, I max out on push-ups, pull-ups, or sit-ups naked. That's just like when I get naked, I know it's time to do naked push-ups. It's a trick. It's a trigger. So that's, yes, it equates to some dong slapping and you're on the floor. And, it is what it is, but it's a trigger. So set up triggers in your life for your health. And that's the important takeaway there.
Beautiful.
You like that one? We'll get naked push-ups trending, Wade. All right.
There you go.
Okay, the next one is loving relationships, right? What's it all for? What's all the happy hustling for? If you don't have love in your life, right? You gotta double down on the most important thing, and that is often our relationships. You can have all the success and the money in the world, but if you're not happy because your relationships falling apart, or because your kids don't love you or respect you, what the heck is it all for? Oftentimes you see people ascending this mountaintop and then they get to the top of the mountain and they're the only one there, Wade, and it's like they've isolated everyone. So a happy hustle hack for loving relationships. This is something that I do with my partner, my significant other, Steph. We have a love calendar. So I actually quantify, because what you can measure, you can change. So I write down every single day my number 1 to 10, 10 being lots of love, sex, passion, joy, right? 1 being terrible. We fought all day, right? So I ask her in the evening every day, hey, Steph, what was your number? She'll tell me, oh, hey, mine was a 7, this, and that. So, okay, yeah, mine was an 8. We did this, and that. Okay, so it's a love day. 5 and above equals a love day. We put a 7.5 because we average our 2 scores, and I put a heart around it. It's on a whiteboard. I know it. Then at the end of the month, I say, oh, actually we had, 3 not love days, that we need to pivot from or learn from. And, 27 love days. That's a good average for this week or this month, and so we can quantify it. We can really, because sometimes
putting some accounting in the thing as opposed to just, hey, and that's a really, really, another friend of mine, Keith Yackey, he runs a dating thing, and he has these bucket theory, these buckets that you've got to see if the buckets are full, and then he gives his wife a rating and she gives him a rating, and they meet on this and they go, okay, what bucket are we not dealing with, right? And the point being, you're creating an accounting system to measure, so you're getting feedback from your partner and from yourself, is like, okay, how am I showing up here? Because you know, I know in my own self, when things got out of control, I mean, that cost me a relationship, right? Straight up. But that's what it did. It cost me a business relationship. It cost me some friends, and it cost me a significant other relationship, because, you know, there's a certain point that when you just drain the tank dry, that you just never get to fill it back up again.
Yeah, man. It's all too common, especially with entrepreneurs.
Totally.
And we burn the candle at both ends, and who really suffers is our loved ones, the ones we care the most about, the ones we say we're doing it for, right?
Correct. Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So that it's an important one, but the love calendar is a happy hustle hack for loving relationships. Now, if you don't have, and I'm going to take it a step further, if you don't have right now your ideal partner, I want to help you manifest them. And this is something I call the perfect partner page. And I basically did this to find the love of my life. And I know it's effective, and I know it works, because, hey, let's face it, if you're shooting a bow and arrow and you don't have a clear target, you will never hit the bullseye.
Correct.
And a lot of people go out there in life and they try to accomplish goals without a clear, bullseye of what they're after. Same thing with your love life. So I urge everyone to write out the perfect partner page, everything about them, their personality, their looks, their morals, their beliefs, their vision, their goals, everything about them, their family, how many kids they want. You have to manifest, you have to know what you're looking for in order to achieve it, right? And so if anyone out there, is maybe not in the perfect relationship or single and looking for a better relationship, I urge you all to do the perfect partner page. And I have a whole episode I did on this on my podcast, The Happy Hustle, that people can dig into it. And I also have a resource where we can talk about at the end, where if people want to actually quantify where they stand in each of these 10 alignments, I have a free quiz that everyone can go to and kind of,
awesome.
Actually figure out where you're at,
Great. That's great.
So that's the third alignment, loving relationships. The fourth, purposeful work, right? Right. If you don't have purpose in your work, then you'll often lose motivation and fail, because adversity will strike, Wade. You know this. I mean, it's inevitable.
Yeah. Human condition, no one gets out alive.
No, exactly. So it's like, you might as well persevere past adversity for something you care about, something you're motivated to achieve. And, you can really break it down as simply as this. You're either going to build someone else's dream or you're going to build your dream. That's pretty much it, and sometimes that doesn't mean you actually have to be a number one. You could be a number two and still build your dream. And you can support someone who is the number one, AKA like an entrepreneur, and be the vice president, right? But the point is, you have to infuse that meaning in your work. And my happy hustle hack for this one is from my good friends at Brand Builders Group. I went through this to build my own personal brand, and they asked these three very important questions that I want to ask all your audience right now. If you're struggling for purpose and you're struggling for meaning in your work, answer these three questions. Number one, what problem do you feel called to solve? What problem do you feel called to solve? Number two, who do you feel called to solve it for? Right? Who do you feel called to solve that problem for? I mean, and not just demographics, right? But psychographics as well. Get so clear on who you want to solve your problem for. Because you could be solving a great problem that really speaks to your soul, but be working with people who you really don't like, and you are not going to have purposeful work. You're going to be solving a problem for people you don't want to be around. So answer those two questions. And then number three, what is your uniqueness and how can you exploit it in the service of others? What is your uniqueness and how can you exploit it in the service of others? Answer those three questions, my friends, and you will get purposeful work.
Beautiful.
Next one. So the next one is mindful spirituality. Mindful spirituality, right? meditation, gratitude, stillness, all components of happy hustling, mindful spirituality. And right now, it's more important than ever to tap into mindful spirituality because we're inundated with tech and devices and notifications and dopamine dumps from left and right, and everyone vying for our attention, and this latest app and this latest shiny object and this guru's telling you this thing. You gotta just take a moment and tap into yourself in your breath. Just breathe, and I mean, for this, I mean, it really is, you could go so deep on this, I'm sure, Wade, but like for me, what's extremely important is that I focus on meditation every day, even just a 5-minute stillness session or where I'm just focused on my breath and gratitude, meditation and gratitude, right? I mean, everyone talks about them, but are you actually practicing them? Right?
Practice is where it expands.
Yep, exactly. So, for me, I do this every morning. And then I also take it a step further. My happy hustle hack that I really want to share with the listeners out there is I am mantras, right? I do my I am mantras twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. And I manifest and I speak into my reality all the things that I wish to become, right? I am the world's greatest happy hustler. Yes. I am focused and disciplined. I'm a positive global change maker who educates, inspires, and entertains 100 million people every single year. Like I say these things every day, twice a day, and they have no choice but to come true, Wade.
It's a vibration actually that builds up, and almost every super elite performer and high-end coach, Tony on Robbins on all down, they all do the same thing. They all start making these affirmations, the I ams.
Yep. Exactly. So that is mindful spirituality. Number 6, financial abundance, right? I mean, let's face it. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're barely, paying your bills, if you're struggling and stressed about money, well, you're not going to be happy hustling a life you love. So you have to take finances seriously. And I really think it starts with financial literacy, right? If you don't know the difference between a stock and a bond right now, it's 100% because ignorance, right? Because you have everything in your power right at the fingertip to determine that. You choose to not educate yourself. To become financially literate, you must choose to educate yourself, right? And to become financially abundant, you must set up a system for saving, investing, and spending your hard-earned dollars wisely. And that's what it really comes down to: saving, investing, and spending your hard-earned dollars wisely. And a happy hustle hack that I use a couple different tech tools I'm happy to drop here on the show. Personal Capital is one. It's a solid web-based platform. It basically allows you to see your whole financial well-being in its entirety, right? That's great. And you have to be able to see that. Like I have, a portfolio investment, I have a savings account, I have a business account, I have all this, and it's everywhere, right? But if I can see a snapshot of my net worth and how I can grow it and where my budget's at and all the things in one dashboard every day, I know I'm financially literate, right? The second thing is a app called Acorns. There's a couple out there. I use Acorns, but it automates every single month. It pulls from my account. And then I set up basically these reoccurring drops. So every single payment that I pay with the certain cards gets routed to my Acorns account. So I'm saving and investing on autopilot, right?
Nice.
And with tech these days, you
can automate it. It's better because then you don't have to think about it, right? So you don't take up energy.
Exactly, man. We got enough things on our plate. If we're going to happy hustle, we need to leverage tech and leverage our time. And so
otherwise tech is leveraging us. They're leveraging our labor units, our attention units. And so if we to counter tech, we need our own tech to fight the machine of distractions.
100%, brother. You're preaching to the choir. So that's financial abundance, right? Then the next, we have passionate hobbies. Number 7. This is one of my favorite alignments, right? But life is no fun when you're not having it, right? Identify the things you love to do and integrate each into your quote unquote busy schedule, right?
Yes.
Everyone is grinding and hustling so hard, but for what? If you can't go snowboarding on a Tuesday, if you can't go fly fishing when the fish are biting in the evening, if you can't, spend a night with your lover and watch a movie and have a nice meal, because you sold yourself into a corner with your coaching program, which I've done.
Right.
Where you're trading your time for money, and then you have no more time and you're like, oh, I got money, but I don't have time,
Yep.
So this is like one of my favorite alignments, Wade, because it's all about having fun, and
love it.
For me, I love martial arts. So I schedule online Krav Maga class, every single week. I play soccer. I used to play semi-pro soccer. My goal was to play for the USA national team. I tore my ACL and broke my ankle, so that goal was shot, but I still like to get after it in co-ed. Right. So I got Monday night soccer, Fridays, I got archery league, and then I got fly fishing. Whenever I can go fishing, I go, and then I have my snowboarding on the weekends. I know that I'm doing fun things in my routine, which balances my work efforts. Right. But the biggest happy hustle hack that I could ever bestow upon thee is treating your passionate hobbies with the same priority as you do your work. Beautiful. Treating your passionate hobbies with the same priority, the same urgency. They get scheduled the same as your meeting.
The same as your meetings. Beautiful.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
So that is, a key differentiating factor there. Next up, this is a doozy, selfless service, right? I mean, the secret to living is giving, right? Like Tony Robbins says, it really is. You will find the greatest fulfillment when you're actually giving back to others. Mm-hmm. And you can give your time, you can give your expertise, or you could give your money, right? To less fortunate people or causes that you feel, passionate about. But the point is, you must give. You have to find a way to give. And for me, once again, I schedule giving, right? This is a happy hustle hack. I schedule my giving. Like I'll put it on the calendar. Oh, hey, this week I'm going to the Native American reservation here in Montana. I'm gonna do an online entrepreneurship class to the reservation kids, right? I schedule it. Or hey, this week, I know I'm hopping on and I'm doing a master class for these people. Or hey, like I'm giving time, I'm giving expertise, and then I automate my money giving. Now this one's key. I use an app called Kiva, Kiva. It's basically a website that allows you to give microloans, aka donations, to third world country social entrepreneurs.
Beautiful.
It's such a cool concept, but the 100% of your donations, your microloans, go directly to the individual or cause that you're supporting. So I just have it pulled from my account every single month. I don't even touch it, but I know I'm doing good because I see it getting sucked from my account,
Beautiful.
But that's another way to leverage tech to do good and to practice selfless service.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I
know. Like that?
T. Harv Eker, I remember he suggested to people, he said, you want to give what you have the least of. So if you don't have much money, give money. He says, if you don't have much time, give time.
Yeah.
Because to kind of really juxtaposition that, and it seems counterintuitive. And I also was another spiritual person, kind of a master, and he had said that when people came to giving, people would say, well, you need to give away 10% or whatever or there's a tithing thing of 1/24 or whatever. And he says, people that struggled with economics, he said, give 20. People were like, what do you mean give 20? He said, you need to rewrite the abundance program in your head.
Yep.
And that became, it was an interesting thing. And when applied, it's effective.
Yeah, man. Love that. It's such a great point.
And you do it all.
Yeah.
You do it all. So let's go to the next one. Let's go to, we're on from selfless service.
Yeah. Next up, we got nature connection, right? I mean, let's face it. We're living like zoo animals, this way, like being in the biohacking world, we're getting just inundated from EMFs, and we're getting toxic blue light just shined upon us at every moment we're indoors. And, then we transition from our office cages to our cage on wheels to then get to our cage in our homes. And, we're living in these little boxes. We weren't designed to live like this. We weren't. We were designed to be outside, to be getting up with the sun, to be going to bed with the sun, to be tapping in and grounding to Mother Earth. And so the biggest thing with nature connection is just to get outside more, right? To infuse nature's wonders back into your life. I mean, go for a walk today, like just, walk outside barefoot and jump in a natural body of water, or go on a hike or camp out overnight, or just find ways to put your phone down and pick your head up and get your ass outside,
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. The happy hustle act there. I'll be just straight up with you. I've been missing sometimes my Sunday digital detoxes, but I try every Sunday to just do a full digital detox, where I don't touch tech all day. And it's like, resets me,
Even
so Monday, I'm ready to crush it.
People can start by just taking their phone, leaving it aside, and going for a walk, and actually feel the withdrawal from that, and the sense of, hey, this is not part of me. And I think it was Elon Musk said that most people haven't recognized is that we've become cyborgs already. The problem is the interface is slow. And I thought, well, that's an interesting thought, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's true. It's like, we're so dependent on our device, and I'm guilty too, because I'm an online entrepreneur. I have to be online, but like, you can use tech. You don't have to let it use you, and you can be in control. You can put your phone on airplane mode when you're not using it. You can unplug your Wi-Fi at night. You can wear blue blockers, right? You can do some of these biohacks that really do make a big difference, right? So that's
so important. It's so important. Man. I'm looking over this list. It's such a great, well thought out list.
Thank you, man.
Another one, right? We've got
there's one more. This is the granddaddy of them all, right? And that's blissful balance. I mean, this is balance to me is the key to unlocking the life you love. It really is. Like, to me, balance equals happiness. That is it. And you'll hear people say, oh, you got to hustle your ass off in seasons and then you can find balance later, and I disagree. Right. I really do. Right. I disagree. I think and I've done it. I've done both. And I'll tell you what, I'm making more money now and happier now than I've ever been. And I'm more balanced than ever because of it, Beautiful. And it's like, balance is the key to unlocking the life you love. And right now, in order to find out where you may be lacking, you can take the Happy Hustle quiz and you can then prioritize change accordingly. Oh, hey, you know what? Loving relationships, I'm only a 3 out of 5. But you know what? One I'm really lacking in is selfless service. I'm a 1 out of 5. I need to prioritize changing that like right away, you know? And so when you measure, and I measure every Sunday, like I do my own quiz every Sunday and I'm like, this week I did this, I'm a little off here. How are you going to stay? Like, it's balance is a moving target, you're not like, oh, I'm balanced, good for life. That's not a thing.
So life is very dynamic and has all sorts of different emerging pressures and reliefs. This has been so on point and so great because I think so many people in the health world get kind of locked into, what supplement am I taking, or what new hack am I doing, or how am I, leveraging this sort of stuff. But you've kind of laid it out here in such a beautiful and articulate way. I think our listeners are going to love it. Where do they get access to this quiz? How do we get at it? How do we practice the 10 alignments to be the happy hustlers that we all want to be? Where do we get all this information? How do we reach you?
Yeah, man. I would just say to anyone out there who wants to dive deeper into this, proprietary framework, like, it will be a book coming out in Q2. It's been a labor of love, but until then, I have an online course. It's called The Journey, 10 Days to Becoming a Happy Hustler. You can go to thehappyhustle.com, and we actually got a code set up for Wade and your awesome audience. If you plug in code Wade, you save 25%. So Beautiful. That's pretty awesome.
Beautiful.
To get the hookup for everybody. So thehappyhustle.com. And then if you want, to actually just get a free resource, like they just get you the kickstart for like the quiz and the ebook and all that, you can just go to caryjack.com. So pretty simple.
Can you spell that out?
Yep. CaryJack.com. Yep. There you'll see, you just put your email in, you get the ebook, and I highly recommend don't just get the ebook, read the ebook, right. And like actually implement it, like I give away all the things I just said and so much more in this ebook. It's gold. It's absolute gold. And then if you want to take it a step further, well, just click the little tab that says take the quiz on my website. You take the quiz, another free resource to figure out where you're lacking. And then if you do want to take the next step, then you can join the journey, the 10 days to becoming a happy hustler, save 25% using the code WADE. But I mean, I'm telling you, this is some of my best work, 10-day video course with the actual takeaways, with the actual, happy hustle hacks, the resources, everything in there. I mean, if it's someone serious about this stuff, it's right there in front of you for the taking. Find that balance. And I'm telling you, you will happy hustle your dream reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cary Jack, he is a man that lives what he preaches. He's been to the mountain, down to the valley, and he's climbed another one, and he's living the happy hustle. It's not just a tagline. It's not just a way, but he's probably broke this down better than any single person I've had on the Awesome Health podcast. And I want to thank you on behalf of our listeners and our viewers around the world who's watching this on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Awesome Health podcast from Bioptimizers. I'm Wade T. Lightheart. This was Cary Jack. I hope you drop into his site and use this. I think in today's world, it's absolutely essential. And until then, we'll see you next time on the Awesome Health podcast.
Peace and love, y'all. Thanks again.
At Bioptimizers, our mission is to fix digestion. And a cornerstone of digestion is gut flora. P3OM is our patented probiotic formula. In fact, we call it the Navy SEALs of probiotics. You see, strong proteolytic or protein digesting activity is paramount to having a healthy gut flora. And of course, P3OM provides that. The good news is, unlike weaker probiotics, P3OM survives the digestion process. What it does is it basically multiplies the good guys while protecting you against pathogens, or what some people call the bad guys. P3OM really helps to rebuild your digestion. And what that allows you to do is to maximize nutrient uptake, energy, and metabolism. To find out more of how P3OM can help you, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.